In this video, I'm going to be painting up Ufthak Blackhawk, the infamous and hilarious war boss from Mike Brooks' Brutal Kunnin novel and others that followed. I am going to be trying to follow the box art as closely as I can. I'm going to start by priming everything black with an airbrush or an aerosol can all the way around the model from every angle. After that, I'm going to be using the same technique that I've used to paint my entire orc army, which I'm showing you here. It is a very fast and satisfying technique to get a lot of models onto the tabletop fast and still make it look very good. The key to this is to zenithal prime all your orc models with silver. I mix gunmetal metallic speed paint with 50/50 flow improver, and then I mix it up in the cup of the airbrush. You can also use an aerosol rattle can for this, like Lead Belcher from Citadel Paints, and then just spray the model from a zenithal angle 45 degrees all the way around. This is because a vast majority of orc models have a lot of metal on them, so you'll want to paint it silver and then pick out the details with acrylic paints later. The first acrylic paint I'm going to use is Goblin Green from Army Painter. This is a very good color to put onto any greenskin model, such as Ufthak over here. I start by painting his face in this color, and then I move to his arms, and I paint that green. Sometimes it may need one or two coats. And also, he has an exposed chest. You'll want to make sure to pick out all the skin surfaces behind all the chains and so on. You want to leave those silver, but otherwise you'll want to paint his body, his arms, and his face in this Goblin Green color. Next, I'm going to grab pure red acrylic paint, and I'm going to put this on Ufthak's squig, which has the adorable name of Princess. We really love that. Just apply it all over the body of Princess. This is a very red looking squig and it's really fun to paint. I also apply this red into the inside of Ufthak's mouth. There is a tassel on his boss pole. You'll want to paint that red. And as with everything in this video, every part has a front and back surface, so make sure to look around and paint all the way around that feature. Next, I'm going to switch to demonic yellow acrylic paint. Now, this paint from Army Painter is a very good yellow that is nice and tacky and very concentrated. I apply it onto areas such as the bad moon on the boss pole, some of the pendants and the dangly bits, and also on his left pauldron, the emblem on his weapon, on both of his knee guards, and I paint one of the three cables on the weapon yellow. While I was working on the cables, I noticed that one of them had to be red, so I had some red remaining on my palette. I went back and applied it to one of the other cables. Next, I use Weapon Bronze Metallic Acrylic Paint. This color goes on several areas of Ufthak's shock rifle, including these two rings at the front of it. The box art showed some dangly bits painted in this bronze color, so I applied it on those. Princess's jaw guard also had bronze on it. And then I continue along, just observing the box art and picking out other areas that looked bronze. Next, I use leather brown acrylic paint and I apply it in several areas. First of all, I apply it onto the boots of Ufthak. And then I pick up on the various leather straps, like the ones that are bound around the cables here, and also the leather grip that's wrapped around the snaz hammer. The inside surface of Ufthak's cloak gets brown. And yes, you can do this on a fully assembled model like I'm showing here. Your brush will be able to reach a lot of the hard to reach areas without a problem. And any areas that you can't see, you don't really need to paint. Use the same leather brown for the pouches and also the sash that goes around Ufthak's waist. While laying down the brown, I noticed that there are some areas of the weapon that should have been painted bronze. I missed those, so I just grabbed some leftover bronze and I paint those features with that color. I next break out some Void Shield blue paint, and I'm going to use this on all the plasma effect areas on the shock rifle right here. This is a nice light blue, vibrant color that works really well for this effect. This blue also goes in this circular area of the snaz hammer and the bionic monocle on Princess. I next switch to matte black acrylic paint and I paint the back of the cloak in this color. This color lays down very nice. In just one coat saturates the area. You want to apply it on the entire back of the cloak and then also onto its edges. Make sure to follow up on those so that it is all covered and doesn't show any silver or other colors. Ufthak's pants are black, so make sure to paint that all around from all different angles. And his front loincloth is also black. I also paint the last and third cable of his gun in black as well. The front toe sections of Ufthak's boots get black. The back portion of his shock rifle gets black in these areas, and you'll want to paint both sides of the shock rifle this way. There is a Drukhari helmet that is at the very front of Ufthak that he uses as part of his necklace. You'll want to paint that entire helmet black. Next, I switch to skeletal bone acrylic paint. And looking around the model for yet again more dangly bits, I look for anything that looks like teeth, and I paint this bone color onto those parts. Speaking of teeth, you'll want to paint Ufthak's teeth as well as Princess's teeth with this color. Don't forget Princess's claws and the claws on Ufthak's hands. Time to bring all these details to life. I'm going to be using Strong Tone, which is Army Painter's best wash, and I water it down a little bit with some water. I then generously and liberally apply it all over the model. This is a classic technique that introduces very nice deep shadow and works really well with orcs. Now, I will openly admit that washes do make the model look darker. So, for instance here, I want to make the orc skin look a little bit brighter, so I use Jungle Green, which is honestly not one of Army Painter's best colors. It is really runny and very hard to use. However, used as a highlight, it works very well. You'll want to apply it onto any area that you want to highlight and kind of make pop a little bit. Usually these are surfaces and edges that are closest to the zenith light source on top of the model. This Jungle Green is a nice runny and very bright contrasting color to the rest of the orc skin, and it really makes these surfaces stand out. And because Jungle Green is a little bit translucent and runny, it works really well as a highlight you don't have to work really hard on. Similarly, if the red areas such as on Princess is a little bit dark, you can make it a little bit lighter with a highlight of Lava Orange. So you'll want to apply this onto all the high tips and edges like I'm showing here, and also on the tassel that's on the boss pole. Next, I'm going to follow the box art and add some hazard stripes onto the one cable that I painted yellow. You'll want to freehand in some slanted black lines with matte black acrylic paint. And this is a really fun process that makes your model look more distinctive and draws your eyes towards something besides the main features of the orc. I'm next going to use some simple matte white for highlighting key areas, specifically the teeth on both Princess and Ufthak. I had previously painted these areas in skeletal bones, so I only catch the very forwardmost areas of these teeth. They'll make them look a little bit more menacing, and it draws your eyes to them better. I also used this matte white, slightly watered down with some water, in these plasma areas. Nice thin lines around the cylinders or on the high spots of the plasma makes it look like it's glowing. You'll also want to put some thin white lines along the circular feature on the snaz hammer. Next, a simple application of desert yellow works well as a highlight for anything that is supposed to be leather. For instance, the grip on the SNES hammer or anything else that is brown that you want to give a little bit more oomph to. For instance, the leather areas of the boot and also the high point on the inside of the cloak like I'm showing here. You can use this simple technique on any of the leather straps that you find around the model. I next use glistening blood effects paint and apply it into the eye sockets of Ufthak and Princess. Next is an effect that I really like putting on all my orcs. I use dry rust effects paint and a really beat up brush, and then I just dry brush it liberally and randomly onto anything that looks like exposed metal, and it gives my orcs a nice grungy look, like they've been doing a lot of crumping. You may also notice that the black areas of the model look really dark. In order to bring out the highlights there, I'm going to use a simple dry brush of uniform gray paint and then lightly just feather it onto the high areas of anything that's black. Lastly, it's time to do some simple basing. First, clean up the base with some primer all the way around the periphery. And once that's dry, just use some green flocking and Elmer's glue. Apply Elmer's glue onto the top of the base with an old brush, and then just pinch some flocking onto the base, and it'll stick there, making the base look like it's nice and finished without too much work. Finally, protect all your work with 1 or 2 coats of matte clear varnish. And here is how Ufthak and Princess look fully completed. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope this gives you some tips on how to quickly paint up your orc models. I've painted up my entire army this way, and I truly swear by this very simple technique. I hope you'll join me for future videos, and until the next time, happy hobbying, and I will see you soon.